This is the most helpful tool I have ever found, and you know I've tried a lot. The biggest thing it does, without anything else, is it just takes so much energy out of having to actually think about your energy. Because the irony is, with having an energy limited condition, is it takes so much energy to manage it, because you've got to think all the time, if I do this, am I going to have enough energy left to do this? So you've got to think about your day all the time. It's like, I call it fatigue chess, because it is like that. You've always got to think 2 moves ahead. If I do this and then this happens, what am I going to do this? With this app, with this wearable device, it does all the thinking for you. Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back, lovely people. Thank you so much for joining me again today for another video. It is lovely to see you. And if you are joining me for the very first time, then a massive welcome. Thank you so much for choosing to watch one of my videos. And if you like what you see today, I would love it if you consider subscribing and joining the Finn fam. That would be wonderful. So today's vlog is a ME/CFS chronic illness vlog, because what I want to do you about today is an epic new pacing tool that I have found. Now, I'm all about the pacing tools because managing chronic illness is really hard. Talked about this in so many videos. Anyone that's got chronic illness like ME/CFS or long COVID, any chronic illness that has an element of huge chronic fatigue and post-exertional malaise, you'll know how hard it is to pace your energy and stay within your energy envelope. And anything we can use as a pacing tool to help us do that is gold. Really is. So today I want to talk about Visible, which is both an app and a wearable device that you can use to help you do that. Now, I've spoken about Visible before. I made a video a while back where I shared a day in my life of chronic illness, and I spoke about how I've been using Visible for about a year, maybe 2 years. The free app that you can use where you log your daily symptoms and you use your thumb on your phone camera to take your heart rate variability, and over time getting to know you, it can give you a daily score from 1 to 5 telling you how your body is doing. So that helps you to know every day, you know, roughly how you are, and then that can help to guide your pacing throughout the day. And that's a really good free tool to use, and I've been using that alongside my Garmin, which I use to do heart rate pacing, which I've spoken about in many videos, that I find a really helpful way to pace, using my anaerobic threshold to stop myself going over a certain amount of beats per minute. When I reach that threshold, I know to pull back. And doing that over the last couple of years has helped me to really stabilise and not going into post-exertional malaise as much, and really helped me. So I've been using the Garmin to do that, using the Garmin like that, using Visible, using a number of tools to support this, and it's really helped. Now, as Visible has been so helpful as a free tool, as they've been developing the wearable device, I've been looking at it and thinking, can I afford to do the monthly subscription for the wearable device and the app? And I decided to give this a go and see what it was like. So I've been using this now since June. I've written the date down so I would know exactly when I started using it. 17th of June this year I started using it. So it's coming up for 3 months. I wanted to give it a good few months before I did any kind of review on it. So I think now I can definitely do that. So let's get into that. I just want to say I'm not being paid or anything to do this. This is purely my experience of this so far. This is not paid, endorsed, anything. This is my honest opinion of this and of using it. Hello, did you want to have a little check? You've seen this before. Hello, lovely. Yes, I know you like to check these things out and just make sure. But that's all this is. Okay, you happy now? Great. Pip likes to check these things out. So when you sign up to the wearable device, you get instructions. The polar armband, the sensor, and a charger, and your quick sign up, quick start guide, which is dead easy to use. So your monthly subscription is, you pay up front, which is for the polar device, and then you have an ongoing monthly subscription for the phone app. It's really, really dead easy to set up. You literally just scan the device code on the back there, and it's really, really easy. This was a bit complicated. It looked massive. So when you first get it, you think, oh, it's not going to fit me. It does. You just have to fiddle about with it, and then it finally fits. You just simply turn this on at the back until it flashes green. Sorry, turn it on, and then you'll see the front flashes green. That slips in there. Get it so it fits you, and it goes at the top of your arm here, like so. You can also wear it around your forearm here, but I prefer it up there. And that's that. And then this simply plugs in. This goes into here. And then when you go to bed at night, you charge it. You don't wear this overnight. At the moment, it's not set up to track overnight sleeping. So when you go to bed, you simply charge it, and then you put it back on in the morning. So how does it work? Right. It basically works on your self-reported scores. So on the app, you choose the scores of your symptoms you want to track every day, and you track those. It tracks your heart rate and your heart rate variability and your sleep score. Every morning you get to put in how you slept, and it uses those to calculate how you're doing. When you first get this, it's 4 days to get to know you. And then after 4 days, it will calculate and give you your pacing points. And that will vary greatly from person to person. You might get 3 pacing points, you might get 30 pacing points. And they really guard against comparing this because it really does depend on your own heart rate and your own health. It isn't a goal to have more, less, whatever. It is just an individual basis. So really do not worry about how many pacing points you get. It is very, very individual. I'm not going to go hugely sciencey on this in this video because it can be explained far better by the people that created this. So I'll put links below. This has been created by people who have ME/CFS and long COVID. So all of these people understand this condition, understand what it's like to live with ME/CFS, long COVID, what it's like to live with an energy limiting condition, and it's been designed as such. And the good thing about this is all the research that comes from people that's actually wearing it is going back into the device and into understanding of these conditions. So it's such an incredible device for so many different reasons. So I will link you in the description below so you can find out more about the science behind it and a bit more detail about this as well. So this is what the app looks like. So this is your visible app. And as I'm currently sat here, you can see my heart rate. I'm at 80 beats a minute, which is activity zone for me. You can see there's different colours. So the light blue is rest, the darker blue is activity, and the pink will be the exertional zone. So if you tap on the heart rate bit, this will take you over to a graph of your heart rate, which using 2 fingers you can expand upon. The gap here is where I took it off for the video. So you can see that today I'm doing quite well. The light blue is all my rest bits throughout the day. I've not had very many pink spikes today. This is a good day for me. And every day when you put your armband on, the first thing it will do is calculate your morning score and give you a score through the day for the day to tell you how you're doing and roughly how your body is. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can see my morning check-in today was really good. When I put my armband on, I got a 4 of morning stability, showing a stable baseline. And then your pace setter will be set for the day, fresh with your allocated pace points that you've been given to then use throughout the day. And the circular pace setter, which I call Pac-Man, is what you will keep an eye on throughout the day, and that will tell you as you're going throughout the day whether you're ahead or behind of your pace points. And I'm actually 2.4 pace points behind my pace setter, so I've got 20 pace points. That's what that is. You can see on here 3.2 out of 20 pace points used. This is why I call this Pac-Man, because sometimes on days where it's not such a good day, it can feel like Pac-Man's trying to eat me. At the bottom here, previous 7 days, you can see how well I've been doing. I had a couple of bad days where I had some POTS attacks and went quite badly over things. Also on there, you'll see that you have got set an exertion rate, an exertion zone and an activity zone, also based over the 4 days of getting to know you. You will have that set as what is exertion for you and what is activity for you, and subsequently what going into rest looks like for you. And that you can see on the app will change, and it will set you an alert on there that will go off on your phone when you go into an exertion zone, so that you know to stop and rest and slow down. And this is what is key with this app to help you stop from going into post-exertional malaise. Now, I do find that I don't hear it on the phone very well, and because I still use my Garmin, I have alerts set up on my Garmin, so when an alert goes on my phone, it actually then triggers on my Garmin, so I find that a lot easier to actually have it set up like that. But if I'm actually doing anything around the house, like if I'm washing up or doing some tidying, I actually have my phone set up with the screen on, so I can actually see the app, so I can actually see when my heart rate is going up and going into exertion, so I can actually slow down. So I find that quite useful. Early days with me, I had to tweak it a lot, and I found that the Visible team were incredibly helpful. I mean, this is so easy to set up, and the team are so helpful. You've got on your app, you've got a help center you can contact really easily. They're really quick to get back to you. I've got POTS, so it's a bit more complicated in terms of my heart rate zones. My POTS is even more complicated because not only do I get the tachycardia where my heart rate goes high, I also get brachycardia where my heart rate goes low. I'm also not on any medication for my POTS because of this. I can't take beta blockers because the beta blockers then would bring my heart rate down too low, and when I have the brachycardia, that then means my heart rate could go dangerously low. So I get a very low heart rate, which does throw the Visible out a little bit. So I had some help with the team to set my rates a little bit differently, which worked better for me. So over a few days, I was sending screenshots to the Visible team about what my heart rate was doing, and they worked with me to set my zones a little bit differently, which was amazing. And now my zones are perfect and they work for me. So in terms of how this helps, I mean, it's just, honestly, it's just amazing. Let's get into this. And the overall of this is it's just incredible. The biggest thing it does, without anything else, is it just takes so much energy out of having to actually think about your energy. Because the irony is, with having an energy limited condition, is it takes so much energy to manage it, because you've got to think all the time, if I do this, am I going to have enough energy left to do this? So you've got to think about your day all the time. It's like, I call it fatigue chess, because it is like that. You've always got to think 2 moves ahead. If I do this and then this happens, what am I going to do this? With this app, with this wearable device, it does all the thinking for you. You can see with your pace setter how many points you've got. You can see how you're doing throughout the day. You can see what your heart rate's like. And it gives you insights into your body that you might not necessarily feel. Because the problem is with these conditions, you can sometimes feel okay because post-exertional malaise doesn't kick in. With me, it's about 48 hours later. So I might do something but feel okay, but then I'm not actually okay, and it kicks in a couple of days later. But I can actually see with the graph of my heart rate and the feedback with its device that something's had an impact, even if I'm not feeling it. So it tells me, and I don't have to think. So that ultimately just helps, and it takes a lot of the brain power out of actually having to think, and it does all the thinking for me, which is incredible. The other thing it does, I really like, is it gives this sense of control. Because with chronic illness, you just never know what's going to happen from one minute to the next. It can rain, and then because there's a sudden like difference in barometric pressure, my whole body just goes nope. It's bizarre, you know, and so much feels so out of control with chronic illness. But with this app, this wearable device, you feel like you've got more of a sense of control again. And that is just priceless. Absolutely priceless. What I really like as well is the way it helps to identify patterns so much more easily. Like, I can see the difference because what you can do with this app is tag things. So on the heart rate graph that you can see here, where you can see your heart rate throughout the day, you can tag things. So I started by tagging anything that was putting me into an exertion. And I could see that if I showered in the evening, like I was always showering later in the day, because that was when Chris was home and I felt safer. But actually, if I shower earlier in the day, it takes less energy for me. And I didn't realise that was the case. I thought I was better later in the day. So I've now swapped to shower earlier in the day. And I've also identified that if I actually go slower in the morning and have a bit more of a rest in bed for, say, the first hour, having that real low, if you see the blue where I'm really in the rest, doing more rest in the morning like that means that then I can stay out of my exertion zones much easier. Whereas if I get straight out of bed and start straight doing things, it's then a lot harder to stay out of my exertion zone, which is something I didn't realise. Food's another one. I've really noticed how certain foods will spike my heart rate and then make it so much harder to stay out of exertion. And things like these little patterns I hadn't noticed, are absolutely priceless. And the fact that you can tag these and really see them and see them repeating is amazing. Another one is finding the incentive to rest. Now, we all know we need to rest, but it can be boring. Proper rest. I mean, we all know that when you've got a chronic energy limiting condition, that sitting on the sofa and watching telly is not proper rest. Proper rest with these conditions is no input, no audio, visual input. It's laying down with your eyes closed, your body still, nothing. That's proper rest, where your sensory, auditory, everything is just resting. And that can be really hard. But with this, when you actually see the feedback, if you're going into the proper light blue and proper heart rate coming down and proper rest, that's like, look at that. And you actually see you're using less pace points. That's a real incentive when you go, yes, I'm under pace points and look what I did, I properly rested. And you see it actually having an effect on your body compared to sitting on the sofa and you're still like at 90, 100 beats a minute. You go, oh yeah, I see the difference. And that's really helping me to go, actually this isn't rest, but this is. And it's really given me the incentive to go upstairs and just do 10, 15 minutes meditation. I'm doing more meditation now than I was, and I'm doing it less begrudgingly because I can see just how much it's really helping. Most importantly, of course, it's the avoiding of post-exertional malaise, because that's what this really, really does well, especially on damage control. Because if I do something, like I go and wash up and, you know, I do too much and then suddenly I'm like a couple of pace points over my pace setter for the day, like this, I go, right, I need to just go and sit down now. And I can go and sit down, I can rest, I can go upstairs, do some meditation, and I can pull it back. You know, I can get back under my pace setter. And that's incredible, to actually be able to do that damage control, get myself back under and be okay, and then by the end of the day still be under my pace points is incredible. Now before, without this app, you know, I might have felt like I'd done too much washing up and then gone and rested, but would I have done that and done enough, I don't know. But with this, I know I have. And that ability to really do that damage control and really pull back from the edge and then really do avoid that post-exertional malaise is incredible. And I'm doing it with really big things. Like when we go camping now, I'm still going over my pace points camping, of course, because it's a big thing when we set up our camping. But compared to what I used to do, you know, now I'm going, okay, whoops, I've done a little bit too much here. I need to go and sit down, pull it back a bit. And now, even though I'm still going over a bit, not at all by what I was. So it's incredible that, you know, I can actually physically see and go, whoops, stop. All I've got to do now really is have like an hour's rest, and I can claw back that pace setter and go behind again, which is just genius. Showering is the big one with me that it's really helped with the most. Now what I do with showering, I sit to shower, and what I've started to do, I have the ability on my phone to set it up so that I can keep the screensaver on if it detects a face. So I set my phone up just outside the shower on my unit and I've got the shower curtain just open a bit, so I can always see the app. So that now I sit to shower, and as soon as I see myself going anywhere near the exertion zone, I stop still. It means my showers are taking about 40 minutes, but it means I am not going into exertion as much in a shower, because a shower can often put me into such bad exertion that then for the rest of the day I can't do anything without really going into an exertion and risking just the whole day just going absolutely belly up and being awful and going into post-exertional malaise. I only shower once or twice a week. I said this before and it's so embarrassing, but that's the truth of it, because of how difficult showers are for me, because of ME and because of POTS. Warm water is, even just tepid water, it will just spike my heart rate. It's so difficult, so difficult. But with this app and the trick of just having it just outside the shower, and if I do it in the morning and rest, so I've already got a few pace points under my pace setter, so I've got that buffer, then sit in the shower with this just outside, with my phone just outside the shower so I can watch it. Every time it's anywhere near exertion, sit still. I'm managing to shower now so that I'm still under my pace setter when I come out, and I'm under my pace points by the end of the day still, even having a shower on that day, which is incredible, you know. So yeah, just I'm finding this is the most helpful tool I have ever found, and you know I've tried a lot. The most amazing thing that's happened so far, that's just happened in this last month, is going out. Right now, I have moderate to severe ME, which means I'm mostly at home, because going out is something that, even using a wheelchair, causes post-exertional malaise. Going out with my partner Chris is easier, which is why I tend to just go out with him. When I go out on my own, which I've started to do more this year, still causes post-exertional malaise. I will lose a couple of days after going out to post-exertional malaise. Now, I went out a few weeks ago with Chris, and by some miracle, I stayed under my pace points, and I couldn't believe it. I thought it had to be a fluke. And then we did it again. And I just could not believe this was happening. And I think this is a combination of just being able to really now see when I'm starting to go into exertion and easily pull back, and also just having much more effective rest more of the time than I was before. I'm having much more effective rest because I'm actually physically seeing when I'm doing proper rest, whereas I didn't definitely know before. And now, because the difference is that I didn't know, is smartwatches are only intermittent heart rate monitors. So this, as much as this was alerting me, and I can see the difference, because this will often be very different heart rate to what my Polar is telling me. So I am quicker. My visible is much quicker to notify me when I'm going into exertion. So I'm stopping quicker when I'm in the exertion, or when I'm slowing quicker. I know when I need to rest and stop better, and I'm just managing my energy better overall, which is now meaning me and Chris can go out and I can actually stay under my pace points. I cannot remember the last time I went out and actually didn't have post-exertional malaise. This is a miracle. It really is. I'm yet to be able to go out on my own and stay under my pace points. I use a lot of pace points and a lot of energy when I go out on my own, because anxiety plays in. When I don't have someone helping, it takes a lot of mental, physical, emotional energy. I need a lot of help from someone else, because there's anxiety and other stuff playing in as well. So that's something I'll master over time, hopefully. But the fact that I can go out with Chris and stay under my pace points, it's just absolutely amazing. I've said before, when it comes to apps like these, when I first got my smartwatch and started doing heart rate monitoring, how validating it was to actually physically see my condition. Because beforehand, it was just like it was no way of actually kind of seeing the real effect, but to see, like, if you really know, God, of course I'm poorly. If my heart rate's doing this, it's no wonder I'm exhausted. And I'm having the same experience with Visible, to actually physically be able to see in this graph how my heart rate spikes like this. It's no wonder I'm exhausted. It's that validation. Seeing it on an app like this, it's really validating to go, well, of course I'm not well, and it's helpful to see that. It helps me to feel better about taking time out to rest and to ask for time out, and that helps me to rest more. And it's also really helpful for my partner as well. I mean, it helped when I had the Garmin, because he'd often hear it beep and realise that I need to rest. But this is another step further, because we can discuss my pace points. He can say to me, how are your pace points doing today? Have you got many pace points left? And then we can work out if we're going to go out or not go out. And that's really useful between us two. It also really helps, because I can often feel like a burden and often feel like bad for not wanting to do things. So, I can say to him, if we want to do something, I can say, well, I need to do the washing up and this, but I can't do both. So if we want to go out, I'd have to leave the washing up. And we can say, oh, that's okay. So it just makes me feel better about saying I can't do this because of this. And because look at my pace points. I've only got a few pace points left. I'd really love to go out, but I can't do both. So we can kind of have these conversations. I mean, Chris is really understanding, of course he is, but this is more for me more than anything. But just to be able to actually, for him physically see it on the app, and we can kind of, I think it just helps me to feel better that I've actually got a physical thing to show him, and we can have these kind of conversations. And I think for anybody that's got an invisible condition, that's what this is all about, isn't it? It's making it visible. So if you've got somebody that doesn't understand it and they can actually see it, then you can have these conversations and say, well, look, I've only got, like, say, 5 points left, and it will take me a point to do this and a point to do that. So let's talk about how we can use those throughout the day. If this practical thing needs to be done and we want to do this fun thing, what can we do? That's also how this can be used to negotiate, time together as a family, a couple, or whatever. And I really like that aspect of it as well, because, when you live as a couple or whatever with someone, it's hard to kind of negotiate and manage this illness alone and together with someone, so yeah, I like that aspect of it too. That's how it works for us. And of course, on the positive side, I can also say to him, when he will sometimes say, I'll do that today, you do that, and I can say, look, no, I've actually got 9 points left, you rest, I'm going to go and do the washing up today, so it works both ways. So yes, this has been a bit of a long vlog, but I really wanted to cover lots of things, because honestly, it's amazing. Now, I've loved my Garmin and I still use it. It does my sleep score. I find it helpful to know how my sleep has been. I find it helpful to see the body battery side of things. That is very helpful. And I still use it. I find it helpful that it feeds back from Visible onto my Garmin to tell me how I'm doing. But honestly, I would never now go back to using a smartwatch to do heart rate variability and heart rate monitoring. This far surpasses this. Far surpasses the heart rate monitoring on a smartwatch. I'm so glad I did this. It is well worth the £15 a month subscription. You can pay per year, which will make it cheaper. I didn't, because I wanted to see how it got on, how I got on with it. At the moment, they've got a deal on it all at the moment because it is so new, so this is the time to go and get it. I will now be paying for the year from here on in because this is the best investment ever. And at just 3 months to see this improvement, I'm really optimistic about what can happen going forward from here. So I will update going forward. But yes, the best tool for chronic illness so far, and the most improvement I've seen ever for myself. Biggest difference in terms of, for me, definitely biggest improvements I'd see in a synopsis. Let's synopsisize this. No word, that's not a word, Finlay, but there we go. Biggest difference I'd say is the ability to do effective rest for me, because I can actually see what is effective rest and do it, and to be able to get out of the house and not experience post-exertional malaise. Those are my two biggest wins with this. And the third, I would say, is that I don't have to do my pacing and working out my energy envelope. This does it, and I don't have to think about it. It just does it for me. Win-win. So yes, thank you, Visible team, for doing this. You've done an amazing job, and the fact that you are all also helping to improve research, because the Workwell Foundation have been talking about heart rate monitoring for ages, and we still have not been seeing this, but hopefully now going forward this will go towards the NHS, and the NHS will start rolling this out, because this should be rolled out, because if everyone had access to this will make things so much easier, and then professionals would actually see physically what we're going through, because this app shows what we go through on a daily basis with this, our hearts and what we manage. So yes, hope that was helpful for everybody. If you have any questions, comments, please do leave them in the comments below, and I will love to read your comments and get back to you as soon as I can. But yes, thanks for watching, take care of yourselves, I'll see you next week.